I'm only one drink away from the devil. I'm only one call away from home.
Welcome back to Unbandaged, the #1 podcast in America, according to the many people that are listening to us. Our growth is just exploding. With only 4 episodes in the can, Govy, we are now up to 23,867 listeners, and that includes your brother who joined last week. So we need to thank so many people that have been grassroots building this and talking amongst their colleagues and friends and people at their schools. And we're now, next week, hopefully, we're on social media, which will be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and we mix TikTok. We're not going to go with TikTok. And this will hopefully expand our base. Again, a big shout out to the University of Pennsylvania boys, the frat boys, who have been spreading it all around, not only the school, but to all the companies they work for, Google, Amazon, Tesla. And I want to give a shout out to my niece, Miranda, who is at University of Florida, the Gators up there. And we're exploding through that campus. And it's really interesting, Govy. The fact that these college kids are really embracing our podcast is amazing. Most of these colleges and the college kids are super liberal. But I guess because they're about to enter the workforce, the work world, they're embracing what we're having to say. And I think they're thinking about it. They're saying, okay, maybe there's a different side. And I'll give you a real fast story. My son, as I indicated before, is now working in New York City, and all the cronies from his school are working in New York City. I'm talking to them all, and they're telling me they all got, this is a year ago, they all got their first paychecks. And between New York City, New York State, 401k, and their health benefits, their paycheck, 52% of it was taken away from them. They only were left with 48%. And they're saying, well, maybe I should listen to, the other side here. Maybe there is something about it. It's really pretty interesting. And I'm really happy that these young kids are embracing us, and hopefully they'll give us suggestions for our podcast. And again, we are getting a lot of compliments about what's going on here, all the negative stuff. I'm going to give you Gavy's cell phone number, 1561.
But something, Cutty. You know something interesting, Cutty. I'll tell you what's really, I think, interesting. I think your son and all the guys from Penn, from Wharton, I think what's a good point is, I think one thing our country really needs at this time is for everybody to try to hear the other side. Right now, we are at a situation where the walls are up and nobody even wants to listen to the other side. So it's either you're Republican and your ears are shut and you don't even want to hear the other side, or you're a Democrat and you don't even care what the Republicans say. You're not even going to listen. And I think that's where the country has to somehow or other start listening to maybe it takes a mainstream media that's somewhere in the middle, but we have to start listening to each other rather than just turning ourselves off and like hunkering down. So I think that would be a good start if we could, if we could start listening, to the other person's opinion respectfully.
I mean, that's a great point, Govy, but do you think it's any different today than it was? I watched a clip of Ronald Reagan on Johnny Carson, and he kind of said that, but I guess now the world is so different with internet and with cell phones and everything that you have a great point. Everybody has to, and the world, also the economies of the world are so different. We're dependent on China. We're dependent on so many different countries, Taiwan.
But but just to say one thing, I know I might go off a point right here that we were going to maybe talk about a little bit later. But here, me and you have our opinions about Governor Newsom, for instance. Like, I wasn't a fan of his, and like basically, I was in the corner of no matter what he said, I didn't care because I looked at San Francisco, I looked at Los Angeles, I looked at the state of California, and I just thought, who would ever vote for this guy? Who even wants to listen to him? Because his state is a shithole right now. And then he had this talk with Hannity the other night. He came on the Hannity show, and I got to tell you something. He handled himself great. If there was he walked out of there where he was better than Hannity. I mean, I think Tucker Carlson's sitting there at home, and he's thinking they better call in the relief pitcher because I think he won. And I was listening. I was very impressed by Governor Newsom. Very impressed. I didn't know he was from California. He's a guy that maybe I could see people voting for. Just as it's tough for his track record. But I'm open now. I'm listening. I want to see the other side and hear it.
Well, for our 23,867 listeners last week, I'm sure this week it's probably got to be maybe 40,000 or something like that. But let's talk about that. So Govy and I are working remotely. This is our first remote podcast. I'm up north here. It was 58 degrees this morning when I went outside to go to the gym. Yeah, it's chilly, but in the day it warms up. Today it's a rainy day, and Gavi's still down in South Florida, but he's headed to Wildwood, New Jersey this weekend for a country.
It's gorgeous down here, boy. 83 degrees, not a cloud in the sky.
But how are the tsetse flies? I mean, are they still? They're like
no, they're good. They're good right now. I told you, I sent you a thing. I found something organic that just takes them all away. Living good.
Govy and I came up with this great idea. Why don't they make suntan lotion that has bug spray built into it, like copper tone with bug spray? And, we decided, man, this may be a great idea. We could become millionaires over this. And then we started Googling it. Well, it's been out there forever. I don't know why they don't sell it or promote it anywhere. But think about it. You only have to put on, your suntan lotion as built-in bug spray. But let's stay on this Gavin Newsom thing because I saw it too. So the point of us being remote, we can't slide pieces of paper across the desk and, so let's stay on Gavin Newsom. I watched it too. And I thought Hannity was tough. He threw him some softballs, but I was very impressed with Gavin Newsom. If I didn't know the state was such a shithole, and if you're listening from California, I apologize, but he was amazing. And they talked about him going to the French Laundry, which is a very famous restaurant during COVID. And he said, I own it. It was stupid. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. And I was impressed. It was the first time I ever heard a politician say something like, I own that mistake. And he went on and on.
Or I'm telling you, if I didn't know better, I would think that Governor Newsom stole Hannity's notes and knew exactly what he was going to ask him because he was prepared for every question. He was prepared, even that he went and he owned going to the French Laundry. Couldn't answer that question any better than saying, I own it.
And he's a good-looking guy, like I talked about last show or the show before, like you are, Govy, where, all these presidents, like Barack Obama, where they show him in the ocean with his glistening pecs, and George Bush and Bill Clinton back in the day, all really good-looking. This guy, Gavin Newsom's a good-looking guy. He speaks really well. The interesting part is he was married to what Donald Trump Jr.'s fiance. He was married to Donald Trump's Jr.'s fiance, Kimberly Guilfoyle. So it's incestuous.
And he's currently married to one of the victims of Harvey Weinstein, that she claimed that he raped her, even though that's the one case that California ruled that he did not. So for a part. So she was an actress. His current wife was an actress that was that Harvey Weinstein was acquitted of raping. just give you another why.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. In the interview with Sean Hannity, he sat there and said, "This Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. He's right on message, whatever." Well, what's that all about, Gabby? Why is he saying that? If he really wants to run for president of the United States, is he buttering up Joe Biden so if the guy goes down, he's right in the spot?
Well, he's a career politician. I believe he's somehow or other related to Nancy Pelosi. So I think he looks at it like it's a horse race. And, sometimes you see a horse that gets out early in a horse race and then like falls apart at the end. And then I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I think it's still early. So I think he's just going to sit back. He's going to watch. He's going to say all the right things. He's going to let maybe Biden gets indicted. Maybe Biden with the bribery thing comes up. Maybe something with Hunter Biden. Maybe just Biden gets tired and they have to move on from him and Kamala Harris because they're not going to turn it over to Kamala Harris to be the president. And maybe he's just waiting. And you know what? He can wait almost until February. Then he puts himself in the race. And all of a sudden he gets a landslide. He gets the nomination. So I don't think he has nothing to gain by trying to go up against Biden except for just saying he's doing a great job, saying all the right things. But yet he's still out there. He's on the Hannity show. He's coming on Fox, which, by the way, if I was a Democratic person, if you don't come on Fox, then you just lost half the country. So he's pretty smart he's out there trying to butter up some Republicans.
Right. But he can talk the talk. He can't do the walk. I mean, what happens when they stick a truck with a video camera driving down the streets of San Francisco after he gives a great, unbelievable interview? And then they show you what San Francisco looks like. Stores empty, tents, sanctuary tents everywhere. I mean, how's he sell that when they have such problems in that city?
You control the media. When you control the media, you can sell Joe Biden to the rest of the country. Did Fetterman, he won. How did they sell that to Pennsylvania? How could they sell that to Pennsylvania? Because you control the media, you can do a lot. I mean, seriously. I mean, the guy shows up, everybody's dressed in a suit. This guy shows up and he's wearing his hoodie and sweatpants, and he's a senator now. So, I mean, that was sold.
Yeah. Fetterman, for those of you who are not familiar, because we're from Pennsylvania originally, he ran for the Senate against Dr. Oz. Everybody knows Dr. Oz, and it might have been a hate vote against Dr. Oz. But Fetterman, maybe a year earlier, had a stroke. And literally, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't speak. He lost his train of thought, and he won. It was unbelievable that he won this election to be a United States senator and against Dr. Oz. And now supposedly Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, he has to handle this I-95 catastrophe that took place. And I know he's going to he's going to rely on his senators from the state. And I'm curious to know what Senator Fetterman is going to add to fixing this. It's this dilemma. I predict it will be out for a year now. There was a tragic tanker truck that blew up last week and literally took off an entire section of I-95 corridor right outside of Philadelphia. And it's a huge corridor for commerce and a huge corridor for trucking. And now the trick is for the state to rebuild this corridor, and it's a union town, and build it as fast as humanly possible to get the commerce back going. And we have a new governor, Shapiro, who was an attorney general, and I don't know what his level of experience is, but this is going to be a tough problem for commerce and Pennsylvania and actually Philadelphia, this I-95 thing.
And everybody that lives from New York all the way to, actually from Florida to Maine. It affects everybody.
Yeah, it's going to affect everybody. And it was just tragic, the fact that it was kind of like the Twin Towers, the heat of the inferno of this tractor trailer just melted a section of I-95 away, and unfortunately, one of the driver of the truck lost his life. We have a big show here today, and we just chewed up, 15 minutes or whatever. So, for 2 seconds, let's just talk. Miami Heat 4-1. Denver wins. Govy the Kreskin. He predicted it. He said it'll be done in 5. I said, no way, it's gone 7. And here we are, 4-1. Denver smoked them.
Unbelievable. But you know what? Miami, they should be proud of themselves. Everybody, no one can walk away from that series and think that Miami didn't put 100% out there. They overachieved. They were the number 8 seed, and they played the number 1 seed in Denver. I think Denver right now looks like they could put like a little mini run together, and they're the favorites to win next year. So it should be interesting with what's going to happen with the rest of the league. One of the superstars, John Morant. Now that the season's over, I'm expecting to see a suspension come down on him, and I think it's going to be a year. I think for what he did and the harm that he's going to cause the product of the NBA, I wouldn't be surprised if he's suspended for a year. And you'll start seeing a lot of trades and free agency in the offseason. And you're going to see teams trying to rebuild to see how they could attack the Denver Nuggets. And I think they're going to look at how they play team ball with Jokic as the center. Just made everybody better around them. You turned around and
how old
this
is
guy
Jokic?
is.
How old is Jokic?
I think he's in his late 20s. He's young. He is humble. He thinks to pass first, shoot second. And I think that a lot of teams are going to look at that and say that's the way you play team ball. He makes everybody better around them.
All right.
Are you listening, 76ers?
Yeah. Look, Miami had 4 undrafted starters. They put together, their coach is amazing. They put together a great team. They had an unbelievable run, and they were up against the better team, obviously won. Denver was the better team all through the whole series. So it's pretty unbelievable that Miami
last night, the Vegas Knights, an NHL team that's only been in the league 6 years, won the Stanley Cup last night. Can you think of a better city to celebrate in than Las Vegas after you win? Could you imagine those parties that took place last night?
But I was thinking about that last night. When you think about Las Vegas, and I don't know anything about Las Vegas sports teams, but isn't it kind of like a transient town? How do they get a customer base, a loyal fan base to go to a town like Las Vegas where most of the population is coming and going, other than, I guess, the people that work in the casinos?
Well, I think like a lot of United States hockey fans, I don't think that they're really, truly hockey fans. I think that they are fans of their city. For instance, I think Philadelphia Flyers. I am a Flyer fan. I am not really a hockey fan. So if Vegas was playing the Seattle Kraken team at night, I'm not watching that hockey game. I don't even care. But if the Flyers are playing, maybe I would turn them in. So how many people do you really need to support your hockey team? All you really need is 17,000 people to show up in your arena, and you're sold out every night. And there's enough people that the casinos bring guests and stuff like that.
You're right.
I don't think it's going to be a real like New York fan base where they look at the Rangers with the history that they have. I think it's kind of funny that a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1967, and they are the New York Yankees of hockey, and they have to turn around that city that actually has the first game of the year. They bring their stick to work day. And now they have to turn around after 6 years and see this Vegas hockey team in the middle of the desert with a Stanley Cup. It must kill them.
Right. You make excellent points, and I guess that's true. First, I also want to Treat Williams. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a great character actor. He passed away yesterday, and just tribute off to him. I watched him actually last night on the TV show Blue Bloods before I even knew that he passed away. He was in a motorcycle accident, and great actor. So tribute off to him. So let's jump into this Donald Trump. This is unbelievable. Yesterday we saw the first president of the United States arraigned in federal court. They fingerprinted him. He's had to sign a bail bond for this document, confidential, all the boxes and all the stuff that they raided at Mar-a-Lago. And it's just an unbelievable story. And Govy and I, in preparation for this podcast, we're talking about it. And last week I addressed, if you listened to our podcast last week when we only had 11,000 people listening now, or no, last week was 23,867. You know, I talked about the security at Mar-a-Lago and the golf course, and it's just so unbelievable. I almost had a laugh when they asked them to put a new bicycle lock on the gate down in the basement, you know, to protect the boxes. I mean, really, there's 300 Secret Service agents all around. And you saw it yesterday. Donald Trump going to the courthouse, he had 10 SUVs, bulletproof SUVs with bodyguards everywhere protecting this guy. And I'm still sitting there and I'm saying it is impossible with all those Secret Service agents that he went down there, you know, with his cup of ice cream, his ice cream cone on a Friday night, and started leafing through these boxes. And Gavin and I talked about it, and we said, because nobody's addressing it. None of these pundits on TV are saying, why does this guy need to have all these boxes of confidential information in his basement? And I think we came up with the answer. So I'll let Govy get into it, because it's really not that complicated. It's all about the man. I'm sure Putin, who is a KGB agent and has a psychological profile on Donald Trump, could give you this answer. So, Govy, what do you think? Why does this guy have hundreds and hundreds of boxes in his basement?
Well, I think what you have to look at with him, I think everybody can agree that the guy has a huge ego. And from what you've seen from 2016 on, everything has to be the biggest and the best. Even when he won the election and he was being the inauguration for him, he had to show these pictures that it was bigger than Obama's
right, the body count the body count at the inauguration.
Right. It was a big thing for him, even though it wasn't. He had these videos to try to make like it was. So everything to him is it has to be grand, it has to be big, it has to be showy, sort of like his house. It almost looks like a Las Vegas casino. He's loud, he's big, he's brash, and I think everybody can agree on that. So I think everything he does going forward from like these presidential libraries, I think he looks at it as like it's the competition. So there was the Reagan library, there's the Clinton library, there's the Obama library. And I think he wants a library bigger and better than everybody else's library. And how do you make your library bigger and better than anybody else's? What do you think? What do you do to make it bigger and better?
The Reagan library has Air Force One in the middle of it. I mean, and Donald Trump needs to be, as you say, the biggest and the best. And I believe he took all this classified information and he wants to be, I don't know statistically how many presidents have been president, skipped the term, and became president again. I think only one or two, not many. And he hasn't started, interesting enough, his own presidential library plans. He doesn't have a location. He doesn't have plans of it. He didn't do anything yet because he believes he's going to be president again. And when he's president again, he's going to declassify this stuff. And the stuff that,
or it could be declassified. For all we know, some of it is declassified. We don't even know that.
We don't even know. And that goes to the powers of the presidency. That'll be a whole constitutional question that these lawyers are going to have to figure out. Because I was listening to Jesse Waters, and he was reading the National Archives Act, and it automatically becomes personal property. I don't really understand it, but, they had an argument for it, and we're not going to litigate it here. But we believe that Trump believes that if he gave this stuff back to the National Archives, he'd never get it back. And he wants for his presidential library, and that's why he's storing it, and he didn't want to give it back. He wants people to walk around and look at this stuff on the wall. These are the invasion plans of Iraq. These are the letters, the love letters that Kim Jong-un.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about how people collect sports memorabilia in a way. Think about how many presidents can you call Kim Jong-un Rocket Man. He's firing rockets all over the place. Yet he ends up making peace with Kim. He actually walks into North Korea, shakes his hand. Kim gives him a letter. He has the letter now. He doesn't want to give that back. He wants that to be on display, that when you walk back, you can realize that here's a president that actually walked into North Korea. Who else has done that?
This is our take. Trump said, this is mine. I'm going to use it for, and he's not telling anybody this. Only the two smartest people in the room, Govy and Cutty, figured this out. Even Mark Levin, who I love, he is a Trump offender. And by the way, Mark Levin, if you're listening, I went to Cheltenham High School with you. You were in my class. You won't remember me because I spent most of the time in the parking lot and you were studying. But I went to high school with you. But nobody is saying this. And the other thing that could be a possibility besides the library is we all know everybody, the Steele dossier and all that stuff, they made up all this stuff about Donald Trump. And right from the get-go, like the third day after he won, he said they spied on my campaign. And everybody said, no way. I think this is another take that I have. I think that he had obviously there's like these James Bond guys in the United States government and these secret agents that go around. I think that he went and dug up dirt on Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and he had all that stuff in the basement. And he didn't want to give it back. It was his stuff that he had the secret ops find. I know this is very James Bondish and it sounds stupid or ridiculous, but by the way, do you think if he had all that stuff down there, all the dirt on Bill Clinton and his business dealings and the Clinton Foundation and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, when he was a public advocate in Chicago and all the stuff that he did and all this nonsense with Joe Biden, do you think if that was down and Joe Biden knew about it and he said to Merrick Garland, go get it. You go down, raid that house, get those boxes, get all the dirt on us, and let's get it back. Do you think if that's what they did, we would know about it? No way. Do you think?
Well, I think, and I agree with you. And I also think that as soon as he became president, which no other president had to go through what he did from the very beginning, they spied on him. They tried to impeach him in day one. They matter of fact, when people were elected to Congress, that was their first promise that they did. As soon as they came into office, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to impeach that MFer. It's like, so could you imagine your composure that he had to keep, knowing that they kept throwing things at him? I'm going to spy on you. He had the FBI against him. He had the Department of Justice against him. This guy had to deal with so much stuff that was unfair that after a while, I can't believe that he didn't lose it. He had to keep control of himself, knowing that they were out to get him. The United States was out to get him. And even to this day, the FBI, they don't want to release these tapes on Joe Biden. I don't understand that. I mean, I lost a lot of respect with the FBI And I always thought they were the greatest thing in the world. But just like I always believed a lot of the news years ago until Donald Trump said it's fake news. Now I look at the FBI different, the Department of Justice different. He's opening up your eyes to like some of the things where he's right. He was right on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. This rape case, 26 years old with this girl. I've only seen it on TV. I saw Tony Soprano's shrink, Dr. Melfi, get raped in the fire escape, and she's screaming and she's carrying on. This woman is in Bergdorf Goodman's changing room, and Trump has his two bodyguards there. Was she not screaming? Or I don't know.
Everybody acts differently. So everybody, until they're in a situation, everybody handles something differently. But the first thing she does is right after this case is he goes on a town hall on CNN, and he says something, negative about her. And she goes immediately back to the judge and says, I want to sue him, add on another $2 million. And the judge actually agrees. So it's like a meter in a cab. Anytime he says something about her right now, she's allowed to keep suing him for defamation. He's not allowed to defend himself. He can't say that this person that was 25 years ago, she can't remember anything. Like, he has to worry about just tacking it on. She's never going to get any money.
I understand. I'm going to take the other side. He should shut the hell up. Okay. It's in court. He lost $5 million and he shouldn't say anything. It's over.
How do you think? Well, if you shouldn't say anything, let me ask you a question. Some of the stuff he says that's really pretty funny is this special agent that's looking into him. His name was Jack Smith. Very common name. It's not an easy name to remember just because it's so common. All of a sudden, yesterday, after this, Jack Smith is in the hearing. He then gets up there and says, I have a new name for him. He's Deranged Jack Smith.
Yeah, I love it. He makes up names.
Right. Some people would say, hey, Donald, this is a guy that wants to put you in jail for the rest of your life.
Shut up.
And don't say anything. And he's like, nope, he's now known as Deranged Jack Smith.
Yeah, that's his name.
He's labeled now. That's how I look at him. When I think of Jack Smith, the first thing I think about is he's the Deranged Jack Smith. I think it's genius of Donald Trump to do that. I really do.
I wonder what kind of names he'd give you and I. It'd be funny. All right, so now that I'm getting flagged here. Stop already. We don't have enough time.
And just to say one thing with sometimes mainstream media, on the Sunday shows this week, George Stephanopoulos, the guy who's the expert for ABC News that worked in the Clinton thing, he has on Trump's lawyer. One of his lawyers was on the Sunday shows. And he asked him a question, and the lawyer comes back and says, well, what about Joe Biden having classified documents in his garage next to his Corvette? And George Stephanopoulos goes, no, wait, I got to stop you right there. That's a lie. That's not true. And the lawyer goes, George, there was pictures. That's why there's a special counsel. He's being investigated for having classified information in his garage. And George Stephanopoulos had no idea. Now, how does this guy be on ABC News, have no idea that there were is he just reading the New York Times? Does he not see any other side? How does this guy be so uninformed on that there's documents in this garage? It's crazy.
Well, that's why I applaud these college kids that are really grassrooting our podcast, because they're really smart and they're listening and they're making their own decision. When they lose 52% of their paycheck to taxes, maybe next time when they hear about how the government's spending money, they think differently. So we have 7 minutes left. I just want to touch on this subject because it's a great story. It's about this creep, Jeffrey Epstein, who was the pedophile, and he hung himself in jail with the bed sheets that were made of paper.
He hung himself? Is that what you're saying? He hung himself?
But he was this creep pedophile who was convicted in 2008 of, having sex with minors. And then people continue to do business with him. And he had this pedophile island that he would fly everybody on his pedophile jet, including Bill Clinton. He had so many famous people that went with him. And he was convicted and he went to jail. And he didn't last too long in jail. All of a sudden he showed up dead. And they said he died by choking himself with his paper bed sheet. Okay. So then his co-conspirator, Maxwell, she took some sort of plea deal and is in a country club prison. And she was
the supplier. But she was the supplier of these young girls. She wasn't just a little helper. It was like a part. She was the Robin to Batman. It was Batman and Robin. Okay, so they got Batman to hang himself in the prison, but she's right there. She should be getting a harsh sentence, and she didn't.
So she's got the book. She knows everybody that was on the plane and on Pedophile Island having sex with these young women. I want to vomit. I'm so disgusted by even talking about this story. But the story goes to the fact that Jamie Dimon, who is, quote, the number one banker in America, J.P. Morgan, settled yesterday the case, the victims of this Jerome Epstein, these young children that are now grown up, sued J.P. Morgan for the fact that from the years 1998 to 2013, he was convicted in 2006, so it's right in the middle of this time, that J.P. Morgan allowed this guy to continue to cash checks for $80,000 to $160,000 in cash, and he used this money to pay these girls and traffic these girls into prostitution or whatever he did, and so he could bring his super rich friends down to this island to do whatever the hell they did down there, and all this money flowed through J.P. Morgan.
Bill Gates is divorced now, wasn't he? Wasn't
Bill
he
Gates was right. I mean, you can go down the list of all the famous people that were there, but so they have Jamie Dimon. Now, look, are you telling me this guy, had billions of dollars with himself and his affiliates and his associates in J.P. Morgan, and they have him in a 2-day deposition, Jamie Dimon, and he's sitting there in a 2-day deposition saying, "I never met Epstein. I don't know this guy. I don't know what you're talking about." Giving him rope it up. Really? I mean, come on. He knew exactly what it was. Proof that after 2 days of all these super, super tough lawyers being in his grill in his face and ripping him apart, he walks out of that deposition room and he says, "Settle it." And they wrote a check for $290 million to the victims.
$290 million. He said, just write him a check. I mean, Prince Andrew and the whole big thing with him, he wrote a check for $12 million. Prince Andrew. And Jamie Dimon goes in for his deposition, walks out of there and says, "Give him $290." Question is, was he on the island?
He might have been, because they doctor these flight logs, and he all those people that were on that plane. You have no idea who was on that plane, and big deal. They have to put a passport. Boy, I mean, how difficult?
Last week, didn't they mention Jamie Dimon's name that he should run for president?
Right. I guess he's out of the race right now.
That lasted long, didn't it?
I mean, for this guy, he walks out of there and he says, "Where are we going for lunch? By the way, give him $290 million. Let's leave." I'm never going back into the deposition. I don't want Perry Mason in my face with his finger in my nose. It's done. So, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I think the show got. Go ahead.
But wait. I just want to say something. Let's just go back to Giselle for a second. So Giselle is in this lush prison ordering prime rib on Sunday nights. and Donald Trump's accountant he's like 78 years old.
Weisselberg, yeah.
Weisselberg. They said, Rikers. I want you to go to Rikers. And Jeffrey Epstein, who's friendly with Bill and Hillary Clinton, Giselle, she gets to have prime rib on Sunday nights in Texas in a jail. But does that seem fair?
Yeah, Weisselberg was Donald Trump's father's accountant, then Donald Trump's accountant, and they were trying to squeeze him to rat on Donald Trump, and they found that he paid for his grandkids' private school tuition and didn't pay taxes on it, and he ran his Mercedes.
Who did that?
Yeah. They sent him to Rikers Island for 6 months, a 76-year-old man. And he's out, thank God. I mean, he shouldn't have stole the money. He should have paid the tax. I get it. But
who did it hurt? Who did it fit? Who got physically hurt by that?
Right. Can you only imagine? Man, I'd be scared to drive by Rikers Island, let alone be in there. Anyway, Gavi, look, thank you. I love you. Have a great vacation and
Happy Father's Day to you.
Oh, thank you, and same to you. It's probably our only it's probably our only holiday of the year, right? But my Father's Day, it's really going to be wonderful because I get to treat all my kids to dinner.
That is
my pleasure.
Well, I get to see one of my daughters. I get to see my daughter Jen and my son-in-law Jess, and then next month I'm going to see Robin out in Colorado.
Fantastic. All right, Gavi, have a safe trip up to Wildwood, New Jersey. Enjoy yourself, and we'll talk next week.
You got it. Take care.